Hello everyone. Welcome back, I'm so glad you're here. The moment the live started, thousands of hearts across the world seemed to stop at the exact same time. Notifications exploded across phones in bedrooms, classrooms, offices, buses, cafes, and quiet late-night apartments where exhausted fans instantly sat upright with wide eyes and trembling hands. There was no warning powerful enough to prepare anyone for that small glowing screen suddenly revealing familiar faces that carried years of memories, comfort, healing, and love. The atmosphere felt different immediately. It did not feel like a regular broadcast. It felt like reunion energy. The kind that arrives after longing has been silently building inside millions of people for far too long. The screen flickered slightly as laughter echoed before the camera fully stabilized, and that single imperfect moment somehow made everything feel more intimate. Jimin leaned closer first, his soft smile appearing with sleepy warmth while Taehyung sat nearby looking relaxed in that naturally cinematic way only he could manage without even trying. J-Hope's energy instantly filled the atmosphere with brightness while carried that calm thoughtful aura that always makes even silence feel meaningful. Together, the chemistry between them felt almost unreal. Not forced. Not performative. Just years of friendship existing naturally in front of the world. Comments flooded faster than anyone could read them. Different languages. Different alphabets. Different countries. Yet every message carried the exact same emotion. People were crying before a single serious conversation had even started. That is the strange power they hold. Somehow, simply existing together in one frame creates emotional chaos inside people who have spent years growing up with them. Fans who once listened to them while struggling through loneliness were suddenly seeing those familiar smiles again in real time, and it felt overwhelming in the most beautiful way. Jimin's voice carried that gentle softness people always talk about, but tonight there was something even deeper hiding underneath it. Every time he laughed, it sounded genuine yet slightly tired, like someone trying hard to protect everyone else's mood before his own. Fans noticed immediately because they always notice everything about him. The tiny pauses. The small glances downward. The way he smiled before speaking as if carefully choosing words that would comfort others. Even when joking around, there was a tenderness surrounding him that made the entire live feel emotionally fragile in the best way possible. Taehyung sat back quietly for moments at a time, listening more than speaking, but somehow those quiet moments became unforgettable. His expressions alone created entire emotional storylines without effort. One second he looked playful and mischievous, the next he looked deeply reflective, staring somewhere beyond the screen as if memories were moving through his mind faster than words could follow. Whenever he suddenly burst into laughter, the atmosphere shifted instantly. His laugh has always had this contagious unpredictability that makes everyone around him collapse into chaos. Even could not hold back his smile watching Taehyung randomly interrupt conversations with absurd comments that made absolutely no sense and yet somehow felt perfect. J-Hope's presence became the emotional heartbeat of the live. Every group needs someone who naturally carries light into heavy spaces, and tonight he did exactly that. He teased everyone constantly, leaned into the camera dramatically, danced randomly whenever music played for even half a second, and made the others laugh so hard that the entire live repeatedly dissolved into uncontrollable chaos. But beneath his bright energy, there were moments where his eyes softened unexpectedly. Moments where he looked at the members beside him with quiet affection that said more than words ever could. The kind of look only exists between people who have survived years together through pressure, exhaustion, sacrifice, and impossible expectations. Spoke less frequently than fans expected at first, but when he did, everyone listened carefully. There has always been something deeply grounding about the way he talks. Even casual thoughts somehow feel philosophical when they leave his mouth. Tonight, he reflected on time passing quickly, on memories that no longer feel recent even though emotionally they still feel close enough to touch. His voice carried maturity shaped by years of carrying responsibility while trying to remain emotionally honest in front of millions. The others listened carefully whenever he spoke seriously, and that alone revealed how deeply they trust him. As the live continued, the atmosphere became warmer and more personal. It stopped feeling like celebrities speaking to fans and started feeling like close friends reconnecting after being separated by life's chaos. They shared small stories no one expected. Tiny behind-the-scenes memories. Random habits. Funny misunderstandings. Forgotten moments that somehow became emotional because of the way they remembered them together. One memory made Jimin laugh so hard he nearly fell forward while J-Hope could barely breathe trying to explain his side of the story. Kept correcting details while Taehyung insisted everyone else remembered it wrong. Watching them argue over insignificant memories felt strangely emotional because nothing about it felt manufactured. It felt real. The live chat exploded whenever they accidentally revealed small details about their daily lives. Fans always crave those ordinary human moments because they create connections stronger than polished performances ever could. Hearing what they eat late at night, how they contact each other randomly, which member still ignores messages, who sleeps the latest, who sends the weirdest photos in group chats, these tiny details became treasures instantly. Millions of people watched with smiles they could not control because those moments reminded everyone that beneath the global fame, they are still just people who love each other deeply. Then the atmosphere shifted unexpectedly. It happened during one quiet pause where laughter slowly faded and nobody spoke immediately. The silence lasted only a few seconds, but emotionally it felt enormous. Looked toward the others with a small smile that carried hidden exhaustion, and suddenly the conversation became more honest. They started talking about pressure. About missing moments. About how strange life sometimes feels now compared to earlier years. Nobody became overly dramatic, yet the emotion underneath their words felt impossible to ignore. Jimin admitted there were nights he missed simpler times. Not because he regretted success, but because sometimes he missed being able to move through life without carrying the emotional weight of millions of expectations. The way he said it broke hearts everywhere because he smiled while speaking, trying to keep the mood light, but his eyes revealed something much deeper. Fans understood instantly. That quiet loneliness famous people sometimes experience even while surrounded by love. Taehyung listened carefully before softly adding that there are moments where memories hit unexpectedly. Certain songs, certain places, certain late-night feelings that suddenly pull him backward emotionally. His voice became quieter while speaking, and for a brief moment the entire live felt suspended in emotional stillness. Nobody interrupted him. Even J-Hope stopped joking because everyone sensed the sincerity of that moment. Then, almost instinctively, J-Hope leaned closer and changed the atmosphere before it became too heavy. That is something he has always been extraordinary at. He understands emotional balance better than most people realize. He knows exactly when to comfort silently and exactly when to pull everyone back toward light. He teased Taehyung gently until everyone started laughing again, and within seconds the tension dissolved into warmth. The emotional whiplash of this group has always been part of their magic. One moment they make people cry uncontrollably, the next they make them laugh so hard tears continue for completely different reasons. It feels human, messy, alive. At one point they began reacting to old memories together, and the emotional impact became almost unbearable for longtime fans. They talked about exhausting schedules from earlier years, sleeping only a few hours before performances, surviving on adrenaline and dreams while barely understanding how massive their journey would become. Mentioned how young they all were back then, and suddenly everyone grew quieter again. Because the truth sat heavily beneath the conversation, they really did grow up together in front of the entire world. Jimin smiled softly while talking about how scared they used to feel before important performances. Taehyung admitted he still gets nervous sometimes despite everything they have achieved. J-Hope confessed that there are moments where he still feels pressure to appear endlessly energetic even when tired. Listened quietly before saying something that instantly spread across social media within minutes because of how painfully beautiful it sounded. He said that sometimes strength is not about never feeling exhausted. Sometimes strength is simply continuing to show up honestly despite exhaustion. The silence afterward felt emotional in a way words cannot fully describe. Fans everywhere replayed that sentence repeatedly because it perfectly reflected not only their journey, but the struggles of millions listening to them. As the live moved deeper into the night, the members relaxed even more. Their posture changed. Their voices softened. The formal distance disappeared completely. Taehyung started humming songs randomly while staring somewhere off camera. Jimin leaned comfortably against the couch while reading comments aloud in different accents just to make everyone laugh. J-Hope began dancing in his seat for absolutely no reason while watched with the expression of someone deeply accustomed to chaos. There was one moment that instantly became legendary among fans. A fan comment appeared asking whether they still rely on each other emotionally during difficult periods. The room became unexpectedly quiet again. For a second nobody answered immediately. Then Jimin looked toward the others with an expression so genuine it hurt. He said there are certain people in life who become part of your emotional home. The words landed softly, but the emotional impact was devastating. He explained that even when they do not see each other constantly, there is comfort in simply knowing the others exist. Knowing they can call each other at impossible hours. Knowing someone will understand things the rest of the world never truly can. Taehyung nodded slowly while staring downward. J-Hope smiled quietly instead of joking for once. Looked emotional but tried to hide it behind thoughtful calmness. That single conversation changed the emotional atmosphere of the entire live. Suddenly it no longer felt like entertainment. It felt like witnessing real human connection surviving fame, distance, pressure, and time. Fans cried everywhere. Because many people listening understood exactly what that feeling means. The rare kind of friendship that becomes intertwined with survival itself. As more comments flooded in from fans around the world, the members began reading emotional messages aloud. Stories from people who survived depression while listening to their music. Fans who found confidence because of them. Fans who endured grief, loneliness, heartbreak, anxiety, fear, and hopelessness while holding onto songs that made them feel less alone. The mood became incredibly emotional because the members listened carefully to every story. J-Hope's expression changed noticeably during those moments. The bright playful energy remained, but underneath it there was visible gratitude. Real gratitude. Not celebrity politeness. The kind that reaches someone emotionally when they realize their existence genuinely changed lives they may never fully understand. Thanked everyone quietly, speaking slowly as if trying to choose words worthy enough for such emotional honesty. He admitted there were periods where they themselves also needed comfort while creating music for others. That vulnerability hit deeply because it shattered the illusion that strength means never struggling. Taehyung then said something simple that somehow felt unforgettable. He said humans save each other more often than they realize. And suddenly millions of people watching around the world sat silently staring at their screens feeling understood in ways difficult to explain. The live continued for what felt simultaneously like minutes and forever. Time behaved strangely because the emotional atmosphere kept pulling people deeper into it. Fans forgot exhaustion. Forgot responsibilities waiting tomorrow. Forgot stress entirely for a while. Everything outside the screen became distant compared to the warmth unfolding between those familiar voices. At some point music began playing softly in the background, and naturally the atmosphere shifted again. J-Hope instantly stood up to dance while everyone else laughed at his dramatic energy. Taehyung joined briefly with lazy movements designed purely to annoy everyone. Jimin started singing quietly under his breath, his voice instantly silencing the chaos because of how beautiful it sounded even casually. Watched them with that small proud smile that longtime fans know so well, the smile of someone watching people he loves simply exist happily together. The emotional contrast between their playful energy and their deeper conversations made the live impossible to stop watching. Every moment felt unpredictable. One second there was chaos, screaming laughter, terrible dancing, and random teasing. The next there were conversations about loneliness, growth, memories, and emotional survival. Near the later part of the live, exhaustion began showing naturally. Their voices became softer. Movements slower. Yet somehow those quieter moments became even more intimate. Taehyung rested his chin lazily while listening to speak about future hopes. Jimin occasionally stared silently at comments with thoughtful eyes. J-Hope still tried maintaining energy, but even he relaxed eventually, allowing quieter emotions to exist openly. There was a beautiful moment where none of them spoke for several seconds while simply reading comments together. The silence was not awkward. It felt peaceful. Shared. Safe. Millions of people watched four individuals quietly existing together, and somehow it carried enormous emotional weight because genuine comfort is rare to witness publicly. Then spoke again. He talked about how strange it feels knowing so many people spend important parts of their lives alongside them through music and memories. He said sometimes he wonders whether fans truly realize how much support they themselves receive in return. The others nodded immediately because they understood exactly what he meant. Jimin admitted there were moments in difficult periods where fan messages genuinely gave him strength to continue moving forward emotionally. Taehyung softly agreed, saying there are nights where reading simple sincere comments can unexpectedly change someone's emotional state completely. J-Hope smiled warmly while saying that love travels further than people think. Those words stayed hanging in the atmosphere long afterward. Eventually the conversation became lighter again, but the emotional sincerity remained underneath everything. They teased each other about embarrassing habits, mocked old-fashioned choices, argued over forgotten details from years ago. Jimin exposed Taehyung for weird late-night behavior while Taehyung retaliated immediately with stories about Jimin's dramatic reactions to small inconveniences. J-Hope laughed so hard he nearly collapsed while attempted unsuccessfully to restore order. The chemistry felt timeless. Not because everything was perfect, but because nothing felt forced. Every interruption, every overlapping laugh, every accidental silence, every teasing glance carried years of history impossible to fake. As the live slowly approached its ending, a strange sadness quietly entered the atmosphere. Nobody mentioned it directly at first, but everyone felt it. Fans in the comments begged them not to leave. The members themselves seemed reluctant for the night to end. Conversations slowed naturally as if nobody wanted to acknowledge time passing. Taehyung stared quietly at the camera for a moment before smiling softly in that heartbreaking way he sometimes does, the kind of smile that feels both comforting and slightly sad simultaneously. Jimin thanked everyone gently for spending time together tonight. J-Hope promised they would return again soon with bright confidence that immediately comforted people. Looked around at the others before taking a small breath like someone trying to hold on to a feeling just a little longer. Then he said something that made the ending unforgettable. He said no matter how much time passes, there are some connections distance cannot weaken. The room fell quiet again. And in that moment, millions of people around the world felt the exact same ache inside their chest. Because everyone understood this live was never really about celebrity entertainment. It was about connection. About memory. About surviving difficult years together without ever meeting. About music becoming emotional shelter. About familiar voices appearing during lonely nights and making life feel slightly lighter. The members waved goodbye slowly, still smiling, still laughing quietly among themselves even as the live prepared to end. Jimin leaned closer one last time with sleepy warmth in his eyes. Taehyung gave that small gentle smile people replay endlessly afterward. J-Hope radiated pure affection until the final second. Looked grateful in a way words could barely contain. And then suddenly, just like that, the screen went dark. But the emotions did not disappear. Fans remained sitting silently in bedrooms lit only by phone screens long after the live ended. Some smiled through tears. Some replayed favorite moments immediately. Some stared quietly at black screens feeling emotionally overwhelmed without fully understanding why. Because nights like this become memories people carry for years. Not because of huge announcements or dramatic events, but because of something much rarer. For a little while, millions of people around the world felt less alone.